Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about hemiplegia gait. It is very important as a subject of rehabilitation. Hemiplegia. First, we are going to learn about what is hemiplegia. Hemiplegia is half sight paralysis, which can be either due to stroke, that is cerebral vascular accident, or due to traumatic brain injury. So, as we know, half sight body paralysis happens and recovery takes some time. So our main aim is to ambulate the patient, and when the patient is ambulated, when he is walking, there is a certain kind of gait which persists, which is known as hemiplegic gait. Now you can identify a person with hemiplegia just by looking at the person, because the signs and symptoms are visible. That are from looking at the face, you can see that he might have facial palsy. Facial deviation may be seen on the non-affected side. While he smiles, while he eats, there is a deviation on the face. There is slurring of speech, sometimes inability to eat. If you see the upper limbs pattern, the affected side usually comes into a flexure pattern, in which shoulder is adducted, elbow is flexed, wrist is pronated, and fingers are flexed. Usually, this kind of a posture is attained. And if you talk about the lower limbs, the lower limb, the hip is adducted, uh, the foot is internally rotated, the knee is extended, and there is stiffness, the hip is extended. So, and when the patient walks, there is a certain kind of pattern which is evident, which is also called circumdictory gait. So what happens when the lower limb, in the lower limb, when the knee is extended, the foot is plantar flexed, so the length of the limb is increased as compared to the unaffected limb, because of which, to compensate it, when the person walks, it usually, because he is unable to flex the knee, he is unable to dorsiflex the foot, uh, the pelvic is tilted to one side, which compensates, to compensate. So when he walks, there is a circumduction, that the affected leg is circumducted instead of lifting. So that kind of a gait is known as hemiplegic gait, or also called as circumdictory gait. So now, if we talk about what all happens in circumduction, the assessment part, if I talk about the gait kinematics, what happens. So there are two phases, major two phases in the gait, that is the stance phase and the swing phase. So what happens in the stance phase? In the stance phase, the ankle is obviously plantar flexed, the knee is extended, sometimes hyperextended, so there is an inability to flex the knee. The calves are unable to get activated because of the weakness, as there are the extensors are very strong, so flexors are weak. Now, coming on to swing phase, when the swing happens, the foot has to be lifted off the ground, the knee has to be lifted off the ground. The patient is unable to do that, because of which the pelvis is tilted towards the unaffected side uh, during the swing phase, as to lift the foot. There is a knee flexion of about approximately 40 to 50 degrees, which isn't sufficient to lift the toe off the ground, which results in circumduction and sometimes dragging of the feet. So what we basically see is, when the patient walks, what all is observed during the gait cycle is that the stride length is reduced, the walking speed is reduced, there is a increased base of support, uh, there is dependence on the hands, and the patient needs a lot of support while walking. It is also a spastic gait, so there is a lot of chances of falling also. So now, if we talk about the rehabilitation phase, what all we have to do, what all we need to do to overcome all the challenges, that is what we have to overcome is, like, we have to prevent the adaptive changes that happens in the body, that is the tilting of the pelvis, that is the circumduction that is happening. We have to increase the voluntary activation of the muscle groups, such as the flexors, the calf muscles, because these muscles get really weak, so they are unable to get activated. We have to work on the strengthening of all the muscles, the coordination of the muscles, because the coordination isn't happening, so the haphazard movement is happening. We have to maximize the skills, and finally we have to work on the balance, so that the patient can walk easily and not fall on one side. So what all techniques are there to train the patient. So there are many techniques, starting from as simple as strength training. So we can take either individual muscles or we can take whole muscles, and we can do strengthening first of all. So for the strengthening, first we need to cut the spasticity. We have to work on the spasticity. If the limb is really very spastic, we have to work on spasm. There are various methods of killing the spasm, such as stretching, such as using NDT, such as using hot therapy, such as using some kind of PNF technique. So we have to use all those techniques first to decrease the spasm. When the spasm has been decreased, then we work on the strengthening of the muscles. We have to work on both the components, the flexors as well as the extensors of the lower limb, as well as that of the trunk, because the involvement of trunk is equally important. We have to balance the pelvis. We have to prevent the tilting of the pelvis. Then techniques such as NDT, which was given by Bertha Bobath. So Bobath techniques can be used to first normalize the tone of the body and then to initiate the movements step by step. Facilitation of the muscles and inhibiting the negative movements such as spasm and everything. Then there are certain balance training that we need to do, that can be done using either tilt tables, wobble board, or shifting weight from one side to other side. Regressive training is very much needed. That includes the circuit training, which involves tasks like getting up from the bed, taking a step, getting back to the bed, getting up of the bed, taking a step, and getting back to the bed. We have to practice first standing, and then alone standing, and then stepping, and then both the phases of the gait, that is the stance phase and the swing phase. There are certain treadmill training also, which has been really successful, which is called partial body weight support training, in which the patient is made to stand on the treadmill. There is a overhanging support slings which is binded to the patient, so that the patient doesn't fall. He is supported through the slings, and then he is asked to walk on the treadmill. So as the treadmill runs, the patient walks with it, and because of the proprioception, the feedback, we can definitely place a mirror in front of the patient so that he can see himself how he walks. Feedback is really important. So partial body weight treadmill training has been shown good results. And then biofeedback can also be used, which is either like using parallel bars. We can place a mirror in front of him, we can give him verbal feedback, he can get visual feedback through the mirror. And then certain advanced training such as using robotics has been really helpful, such as using the orthosis, especially the ankle foot orthosis, which maintains the foot in neutral position so that the circumduction doesn't happen. So again, revising the things such as strength training. First of all, we have to decrease the spasticity, and then we have to work on the strength of the muscle and coordination of the muscles. First individual movement, then moving on to complex movements. That is, first of all, if we talk about the leg, first of all we have to strengthen calf muscles, quadriceps muscles, hamstrings muscles, our foot muscles. And then after strengthening, we practice standing. In the standing, we do weight shifting from one leg to other leg. Then we move on to taking steps, training, intensive training of both the phases, that is the swing phase and the stance phase. And then while we have achieved that, we move on to gait training using either the parallel bars or the treadmill through partial body weight support treadmill training. Circuit trainings are also very beneficial, in which one task, back-to-back tasks are done simultaneously without a little break. That intensifies the training, and that helps in strengthening also. Weight bearing exercises are all the exercises in which we stand and we walk. Certain techniques such as NDT has also been very useful. And again, orthosis, to prevent any things that we cannot control, such as the dorsiflexion, which cannot be, sometimes the soleus is contracture is present. If we cannot treat the contracture, then we make use of the ankle foot orthosis, so that the foot remains in the neutral position and circumduction doesn't happen. So we have to manage this step by step so that the gait is improved. You can simultaneously use the e-notes for further detailing of everything. That was about hemiplegic gait. Thank you.